Well, welcome. Today's webinar is on Totara basics and how to set up your first class. So we'll be going over that. My name is Dr. Tammy Frame. I'm the Chief Education Officer of EClass for Learning. This is my contact information. I will also be recording today's session, and following the session, I will be sending everybody an email with a link to the recording. If you were unable to join today and you have specific questions that you want to forward to me, I'd be happy to answer those. We are using GoToWebinar as our webinar platform today. On your GoToWebinar dashboard, you should see an area for questions, and I really encourage those. In our past webinars, when people have asked questions, that's made it a lot more dynamic and a lot more fun. And I think if you have a question, it's very likely that other people have the same question. So I really appreciate those. I do stop throughout the presentation and look for questions. So please feel free to put those in, and I do like them. EClass for Learning provides e-learning solutions for our clients. We are a full solution provider, and so we can provide you with an LMS. We do support several types. Today we're talking about Totara. We are a Totara partner. We also do course development for some of our clients. We can do professional development on best uses and how to help your learners learn the most. We also help clients that are trying to sell courses with e-commerce solutions. We can host LMS solutions for people. We can help market and sell courses online. And we also provide training on any of the solutions that we provide as well. So if any of those services are of interest, let us know. With that, I'm going to exit the PowerPoint and go into my demo for today. And we're going to just dive into how do you start a course and create a course, and how do you get content into your first course in Totara. So obviously you have to log in, and you need certain rights to do this. So a site admin would be able to do it, or a course creator would have the rights to do it as well. You could also, once a course is created for you, you might become a trainer, and a trainer would have the rights to upload content in their courses. So Totara has a lot of different roles and permissions. You can even create custom roles, but you do need permission to be able to create a course. So when you have those permissions, you will have an admin block, and I always dock my block on the side so that I have a little more real estate. And you will see that you have site administration rights, and depending on your permissions, you may not have as many as a site administrator, but if you have the rights to create a course, you will see courses under here. So it's pretty intuitive. And there's a section called Manage Courses and Categories, and that's where we can create a course. Now, you can have categories. This is a great idea if you're going to have a large number of courses. Maybe you can group your courses together so they're easier to find in the catalog, or when you're working on them, it's easier to find by subject or by topic. And so I have two categories right now, a miscellaneous category and one for my company, EClass for Learning, of actual courses that I assign to my actual employees here. So I'm going to go to the miscellaneous category and make a practice course today. So we'll click that so it knows that's the category. If I wanted to create a new category, all I'd have to do here is press Create New Category. Then it can either be at the top level or a sub. You can have as many nested categories as you want under another one. Anything in Totara that has a red asterisk, excuse me, needs to be filled in. The other things are optional. And there's a lot of built-in help in Totara, like this will tell you what they mean by this. So you can have a category ID number, but you don't have to because it doesn't have a asterisk. If you wanted to describe that category or have a picture for it, you could do that here too. But again, it doesn't have an asterisk, so you don't need to. I'll cancel that, and I'm just going to put mine under my miscellaneous today. So I'm going to click that. Now, currently on the right side, it shows that, okay, here's the miscellaneous category. I have 2 test courses under here, and I'm going to create a new course. So I just click Create New Course. Now, here comes all of the things that we can set up. Again, you only need to put the things with the red asterisk. The other things are optional. And you can always come back and change any of these fields later. Just know that you can always go, and I'll show you in a little bit how you would get back to that and edit it. So I'm going to go to Expand All so you can see all the options available to you. And I'm going to call this a practice course. You do need a short name, and the short name can be the same. It's important that let's say you're going to upload people via CSV file to a course, then in your CSV file, for instance, this short name would have to match however it is written in short name in the CSV file. So that's kind of important. This is what the learners will actually see, but then this is what actually has to be if you're going to import people either automatically through maybe HR import or you're going to do a CSV upload. This is exactly whatever appears in here has to match. Okay, so just be aware of that. You could change categories in here and you can have a pull down menu. Then you decide what kind of course you're going to have. And it can be a total online course, maybe a self-paced course, for example. It could be a blended course that has both face-to-face elements and online courses. Or it can have a seminar, which is in Totara 9, what we call the face-to-face events. So a seminar would be something that people might sign up for. Totara has an event management system built into it. It might be like breakout sessions, it might be a face-to-face session, it might be a webinar, things like that. So you decide what best describes your course. You pick when the start date will be. You can have a course ID number, which is sometimes helpful if you're trying to automate things. So one of the things that Totara is good at is working with other systems, and we have a lot of experience with that. So maybe you're going to have records of completion sent back to your HR system. That can be done, and oftentimes that HR system may need an ID number, so that's why that's there. You can have a course summary, and you can add pictures or videos or whatever you want, especially if you're trying to market it or get people in the course catalog to view it and be interested. If you wanted to add any files, like a brochure that people could download, you could add that here. You can either drag and drop it, or you can do the old school method, which is like an email attachment. And then we get into how will the course kind of be set up and what will it look like. And you can always change these. So the default is weekly format, and I actually don't prefer weekly format. What happens in weekly format is that it shows all the topics or each section starting with the start date as a separate week, and it puts those weeks at the top. And if you have a time-sensitive course that happens to work in a weekly fashion and you want to organize your content by what they should do each week, that might work for you. Typically, I do a lot of self-paced courses that I design, and that doesn't work so well. And so I typically like the topics format. And that allows me to have chunk up my content by different topics. If this one would be good for a lot of compliance courses. A lot of times people will have just one thing, like a SCORM package that people need to go through, and that's about it, and that might be a good format for you too. So I'm going to go with my topics format, and then I can decide how many sections do I want to show initially. And again, I can always change those and make it bigger or smaller. I'm just going to go with one today. This next one, I like course layout. It won't really make a big difference with only one section. But if I were to have a lengthy course with 9 sections, let's say, and I don't want all of the content on the front page, and I don't want everybody scrolling and scrolling to see all of the things, I can have more like a table of contents, and then it just tells a little bit about each section, and they can click on the title, and then they can go into that section. And that makes your course, I think, visually less overwhelming when people first come to it, especially if you have a large course with a lot of content. So if I did have that scenario, I might do one section per page. Today I have a very small course, so I'm going to just say the one section on one page is just fine. If I wanted to force a language, I can. Totara has 80 plus languages that you can set up. It has what's called a language pack, and the site administrator decides for your site what languages will be available to users. And the user then in their preference can pick what language, unless you force it in your course. And if you force it, that means that's the language and they won't be able to change it. When we change a language, the content stays in whatever language and format that you set up. So if you set up a Word doc and it's in English, the system isn't smart enough to change the Word doc to French. But all of the buttons and the software itself, so like administration, navigation, forced language, if I picked French, would turn to French. So the software itself can. I'm going to put do not force. That means that the user in their profile, up here they'd be able to click, and there's preferences. If I do that real quick, I won't go here because I want to finish this. There's an area under the user preferences, even right here, they can pick what language they want to view things. And the site admin decides what languages are available to them. Okay, so that's an option which can be very interesting, especially if you work with a lot of different countries. We have one client that does, and for the different countries, they have the language set up for their country for different courses. News items, I wish they would call them announcements. News items are really announcements from the trainer, and they both come as a notification to everybody and also show up in the course, and they're archived in the course. This means how many do you want to show before they have to click on a show more button. So if I wanted to, I could say I want 3 announcements, and then there's going to be a show more button if they want to go back farther than that. Do you want the students to see a grade book? Oftentimes in compliance courses, it's more like pass fail, and I don't want them to be concerned about that, so I might put a no. If I want to show the user their own activity report, they could see that. So it would show when they logged in, when they logged out, what things they have completed, what they haven't, and that would show in the user admin block, so that's fine with me. The site admin decides how much people can upload. So for this test site, we said that users can upload to up to 1 gigabyte of stuff. That isn't for the trainer. That's more if I were to create an assignment and people had to upload maybe a plan that they had written. That plan could not be larger than 1 GB. And you can decide if you want to make it smaller. Okay, I usually say go to the site upload limit. And if you need it to be bigger than this, you just talk to your site admin and your network person. If we host you, we can do that for you, and we can make it as large as you want. EClass for Learning uses Amazon web servers, which makes it very easy to scale up and down in real time. So we can always make that larger if you need it to be. And again, that's not for the trainer and what they upload. It's for the users that are taking a course. And if they have to upload anything, how much space are you going to give them? And it's a way that if you're hosting on your own, because we also help clients do that as well, maybe their server only has a certain amount of space, and they can kind of make sure that one user doesn't upload a phone book size PDF and hog all the space. So that's why that's there. I would strongly recommend that you enable completion tracking. I'll demo what that is. That means that we can see, for example, a check mark when everybody has successfully completed something. And maybe we give a badge or a certificate of completion if they finish everything, and the system can track that and the user can see their progress. So usually everybody likes that a lot, and usually we set that to yes. I would check this. This is up to you. Yeah, I would say that's fine with me. Then if you want an icon for your course, they have quite a few that you can choose from. And you can also upload your own icon if you want. And that often helps it be a little more visually attractive in the menu of choices or the learner dashboard. So that's kind of fun. One of the things that we're not talking about too much today that we have talked about in other webinars is Totara has a lot of ways that you can automate and push out courses, certifications, programs, all kinds of learning to learners without having to manually do it. One way is you can create audiences. So a very common audience with my clients might be new employees, and you put the new employees in an audience. They are automatically then assigned, if I have any here, yeah, all new employees then would be automatically assigned that course. And it's showing right now I have 2 learners in there that fit that. And they would automatically get the new employee course, let's say. So that's a quick way that you can make sure the right people will see the course. Who's going to see it? And that can be if it's going to show up on their dashboard. So you could say nobody, especially if you're working on it. Only the people enrolled, or members of a selected audience can see it and as well. Okay. Totara also has a way of using groupings, and there's some use cases where that might make sense. I tend to like audiences a little bit more, but that's another way. They're very similar. Then this next part, I usually try to have clients ignore or not put anything here. This means like you're renaming things that the system uses. So sometimes people get confused and say, well, I'm going to be the trainer of my course, and put their name in here. What that means now is in the system, anytime the word trainer is used, whatever word you put in here will be substituted, like the person's name. And that can cause problems, and we can always fix it. But I usually, unless there's a good use case, have people ignore that. You can create custom fields, and those are kind of cool because Totara has a report builder where you can automatically generate reports, and all of these fields you can use pull-down menus, and you don't have to program or map anything, and you can generate a report of what data you want. Custom fields will then automatically show up in the Report Builder pull-down menu. So if there's something specific that you want to pull out, maybe you want to filter by something, you could have a custom field, whatever that might be. You can also add tags, and tags are a way of sorting as well and finding things. Maybe there are courses that are good for engineers or something like that, and you could put engineering on it, and then you could filter by that and do that. By the way, this isn't part of today's webinar too. You can also have audience-based catalogs. So that means that we can have a catalog, and based on different things that you say or an audience, they will only see courses that are applicable to them too. So that's really a cool thing too. So I'm going to go to Save and Display, and it's going to save all of my settings. And it automatically pushes me into my course, okay? So if I want to work on this course, it's a lot like a wiki, if you're familiar with working on wikis. You would click on the Turn Editing On button. And from here, now a whole bunch of new icons appear that allow us to make changes to the course. Now, if a learner were in this course, they would not, and they are not a trainer, they would not have the rights, and they would not have that button. So a learner can't make changes, but a trainer or a site admin or a course manager would have rights, and they would see that button. And the system knows who has permissions to do what. So the first thing that shows up is a news forum, and those are announcements for the instructor to push out to the learners. And if you click on it, you could put an announcement, add a new topic, and we could say, welcome. And I could say, welcome to our practice course. We are glad you signed up for this course. Please complete the introductory forum by the end of the week, or something like that. Okay, whatever you as the trainer want to say. When I could also add an attachment. If I click Mail Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense because I don't have any learners in here now. That could be pushed out to everybody. And they would see it both on their personal dashboard, and they would also get an email notification. So this really won't hurt anything because I don't have any subscribers, but and now this is archived so that if people prefer to log in and see all the announcements, they can also get them in email. So that's automatically set up, and most courses want that. Now, if for some reason you didn't want that, you could go to Edit, and you could hit Hide or Delete. Okay, so either one. This top area of the course will always show, and then your topics will show underneath. Okay, and if you pick that one section per page, they would only see the title and a description, and they'd have to click in the title to see that topic. And that's recommended for courses with a lot of content. Now, in this section up here, this one will always appear. So if there are things that learners always need to see, that's a good place to put it, or that's really important. You can click on Edit and Edit Section. Then right now it has a blank default, but if I uncheck that, I can put in a heading, and I can put information that I want to show. So I could say, you join the course. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have questions. And then I could put sincerely, time frame. This is one of the recommendations, is that you have some technical support for a person that they can contact, okay, in your courses. Okay, so maybe that's something important that I want way up in the front. So I can go to Save Changes, and now that appears right up here for everybody to see. Now, if I want to add any activities or resources, so here I have topic 1. I'll go to edit topic. It's very easy to do. I'll put getting started. And then I could put in the summary. In this section, we will help orientate you to the course. Something like that. And I can click Save Changes. Now, so that appears. Now, if I want to add anything to the course for things that maybe the learner is going to do or view, you can do that, and you do add an activity or resource. And from there, what you do is you click here and you get the whole toolkit of the different things that you have available to you as a course designer that you can add to the course. So I'll just quickly go through these and what they are, and then we'll practice adding a few of them. And by the way, if you would like a test course just to play around with, let us know and we'd be happy to provide you with that, because that's the best way to learn and it's pretty easy to do. So the first one is assignment, and when you click on these radio buttons, it tells you what it is. It also gives more help and tells you all the things that you might do when you add it, or all the different ways it could be configured. So an assignment is where you have the learners upload something and the teacher's either going to grade it or give feedback on it. You could have a certificate of completion, which I think we'll add in a little bit. You could have instant messaging, if there's going to be like a time where you're going to have a live chat, or if it's on when you're available, things like that. This would be like a poll. If you have an external database and you want people to add fields and make it interactive, you could do that. If you have an external tool like a Java applet that you're going to embed, you can do that. You can have feedback like a survey or a course evaluation, discussion forums. Glossary is way cool. That's where you can have different words and you can have them defined. You can even have video or sound added to it, or an image. And whenever that word appears in your course, it will be hyperlinked like Wikipedia, and the users can click on it and then that definition will show up. A lesson is pretty cool. That's where you can have content, but you can have quiz questions embedded as well, and they can branch. So if a person got something right, then they could go to another section. If they got it wrong, maybe you reteach something. There is a quiz that you can have. The quiz is one of the most robust I've ever seen. I've used it in medical trials for clients in the past. It just has so many features and things that you can do. And in Totara 9, there are new question types like drag and drop, pinning things on images, and so on, that make it even more interactive and fun. A SCORM, I think we'll do today too as practice. SCORM is where you make maybe a multimedia lesson that has maybe embedded quiz questions, and maybe it records your voice, and maybe there's some animation on it, and I'll put one up and we can practice looking at it. And it plays in here, but also it scores it and passes the data to the LMS and gives you data on how they did. A seminar would be if you want people to sign up for a face-to-face event and you want maybe a webinar and you want to mark attendance as part of one of the criteria for completing a course. So we could definitely add one of those today. The survey is a little different than feedback. It's pre-written surveys, and I usually don't like them. If you want to create your own, the feedback is a better one to use. It has an internal wiki where users could collaborate. And these are kind of all the interactive things that you could ask learners to do. Totara is a social constructivist platform, so that means that the belief is that learners learn through being social. And there is a component, if you're interested, we're having a webinar called Totara Social, which even has more collaboration that is works with Totara. But the idea is that learners learn best when they're active. The things that come next are more when the trainer is pushing things out to the learners. So maybe you're going to have an ebook. And if you have a large PDF or a large document, you can make that into an ebook, and it'll make it like hyperlinks and make it easy to navigate. You could upload like a Word file, PowerPoint, PDF, anything like that, a whole folder of information. If you have some content that it's in IMS format that can go in. A label is just what it sounds like. We'll add one of those as well. That is where you just put in text anywhere that you want. Maybe like step 1, please complete this first. You can have internal pages so that there isn't too much content on one page. And you can also have an external URL. So let's pick some of these. Let's just start with label, and we'll do some of the common ones that people might add to their course. So you just click what you want, and then a wizard will appear of what your different options are. This is the show more button, so you have all of these in your what you see, what you get bar. And I'm just going to go step 1. Please read the information below. And maybe I'll make that in bold. Maybe I will make it a large heading. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then from here, activity completion. Right now we had turned on tracking, and the default is students can manually mark if they did that. I'm going to put do not indicate activity completion, because all I want them to do is read the label. I don't want them to do or grade anything about that. I just want them to read it. So I'm going to go to save and return to course, and let's see how that looks. So it showed right here. Okay, let's add something for them to read. So again, we go to add an activity or resource. And let me just check and see if anybody has any questions. Doesn't appear so, but please feel free to add any if you do. That always makes it more fun. So let's add a file, a Word file that we want them to read, or a PDF. And so I'm going to call this training 1 file. Okay, whatever I want to call it. I could have a description if I want. So I could say basic information needed for the course. And if I want that to appear, because a lot of times learners like to know what they're downloading, what they're reading, and why, then I can either drag and drop, or I can do old school of adding a file, sort of like an email thing. You can also have repositories set up, and we do that a lot for our clients. So maybe we have their Google Drive show up here, or their YouTube channel, and you can just pick things out of there. But for today, I'm going to do it right off of my computer. And so I'm going to upload a file from my computer. I'll do this little PDF here, and I'll upload this file. And it'll take a little bit. And yeah, please let me know if you have questions. Now is a great time while we wait for one. Hopefully I didn't, there it is, okay. And if I want, I can go under Appearance. And I'm gonna do this in a pop-up, okay. I'm gonna show them the size and the type of file it is and when it was last modified. Let's just say that would be nice for users to do. I will put that this will be marked off when they viewed it, and then save and return to course. Okay, so now here it shows me what it is, and it also has the system marks this a complete once they viewed it. So the user would click on it. I made it into a pop-up, and here it downloaded it, probably because of the security that I have on my machine. But that's how that worked. I maybe would have wanted to do a forced download, would be a good way to do that one too. So let's do another example. Add an activity or resource. It's very easy to do. URL. So maybe I want them to do this. So I could say EClass for Learning website. Great resource for learning more. And I can put that I want that to show up. And then I can put the URL. And I could say, I will do another pop-up. So this one should work. And I will also say that they have to view this for it to be marked off. Okay. And so now when we click on this, it shows up like this. I kind of like pop-ups because they can view it, and when they're done, they can leave, and the course is still running in the background, and they didn't lose anything. So that's kind of neat. Okay, let's go to a couple others. And if anybody has ones that they really want to see, please put them in the chat, and I'll be sure to demo those. But let's go maybe to a SCORM. A SCORM is a real popular one. So that might be something that you make in Adobe Connect, Captivate. We use Articulate Storyline a lot because that has a lot of interactive triggers. And then what you do is you publish it, and a lot of times they have specific settings for publish to an LMS. If you publish it correctly, it can be viewed on any device, mobile or tablet. And the Totara works on any device as well. In fact, it uses responsive themes, and it knows what kind of device you're using and sizes everything appropriately. So we'll go to add a SCORM package, and I can put practice SCORM. I could put what this is about, and we'll put it here. We'll go here. I'm going to upload one. SCORM comes in zip files when it's published, so I happen to have one that I can demo with here. And it might take a minute or two to upload, especially if there's a lot of media, video, sound, quiz questions in there. And it'll upload, we'll see an icon in there when it's correctly uploaded. And again, now's a really great time for questions or requests for any of the things that you want me to demo. SCORM is nice because you can have everything in one place. You can have the quiz questions, you can have sound, you can bring the user through an interactive experience. So that's really popular. If you don't have SCORM or you're looking for content, there are external providers where you can buy content. And Totara and us, because we're a partner, our partners with Open Sesame, and they have about 30,000 compliance courses. In fact, you can just choose them from within Totara and have them show up in your courses. Or your course catalog. And they have some really innovative pricing models. Like you could have one where you only pay for what people actually view and see. Okay, so I know that took a minute or two, but I happen to know that this is like an hour-long one, so it's a little bit big. And then I could say that I'm going to mark this off when they have passed the SCORM thing. And we could even require a minimum score. Let's say they have to get 80% or better in order for that to be checked off. And we can save and return to the course. And now just to kind of see what that would look like, we can enter, and there's a lot of configuration on how you want it to look or how you want it to appear. So sometimes it takes them a little bit to load because they are big files. In fact, this is the table of contents, and so there's quite a bit in it, and you can have embedded video and so on. Okay, and EClass for Learning does have a lot of experience with this and can help create these, and we've done that for a number of clients as well. Okay, and you can skip around and so on. So that would be, and if there's any quiz questions in here and they have to pass, the system is checking that out as well. Okay, if we go back to our practice course and follow the breadcrumbs back here, any requests on other things you want me to show? I think I will do a seminar because that's an important one that people want to see often. That's where you might have a face-to-face event. Maybe there's a webinar that people have to attend in order to get credit for this course. So a lot of it they can do online, but there is one seminar, and maybe I offer 3 or 4 sessions for the users to choose from, and they can sign up for which one they want to come. So I would go to add an activity or resource, go to seminar, and click add. So it's very intuitive and easy to do. And I'll call this my practice seminar. And then, oh great, we finally have a question. Okay, so somebody is asking for a quiz or a survey. I'll do both, and then you can kind of see the difference. Excellent, thank you for doing that. Okay, I'll finish up the seminar, and then we'll do a quiz or feedback, and you can kind of see how they're alike and how they're different. Okay, if there's going to be like a third-party trainer who should get alerts when people sign up and so on, you can put an email there, even if they're not in the system. You can say how many sessions you want to show up on one page before they have to click show more. If you're going to allow cancellations, if you're going to allow them to sign up for multiple events, and if you want people to be able to declare an interest. Sometimes something might be full, but they maybe say, hey, I found this really interesting, and if you offered more, I'd come. So let's just expand all of these, and we'll kind of look quickly. The seminar can get quite involved. There's quite a bit that you can configure, but it can also be simple. Again, you don't have to set all these things because they don't have asterisks, but so you could say that anybody can sign up with no approval. You may have to put some things that you say, like I agree that I've asked my manager at a time. Or the system can know who their manager is, and their manager has to approve it before they can go. Okay, and then the manager would get a notification, plus it would show up on their dashboard, and they would have to click approval in order for them to be enrolled. You could also have it where managers have a certain number of seats that they can assign people to be there too. You could have, where will this show up? I'll have it on the course calendar. You could also have it on the site calendar or no calendar. We can restrict, everything has restrictions. I've been talking a lot about completion, but maybe I'll say that you can't sign up for the face-to-face webinar until you have at first completed the SCORM package. And that to be complete, remember we said that they had to get 80% or better. And if they didn't do that, they can't sign up for the webinar. You can restrict things like that. We will say that this will be marked off as complete when the instructor marks them as fully attended. And we could even put the date when we expect that if we wanted to. I'm going to go to Save and Display. And now the next part is to add the events or the sessions. So what I can do here is it already gave me a default, but I could change it if I wanted to. I could select a room or add a room. Assets would be like handouts that I could have, and then everybody can have a copy. I could add new dates if I want to, and when the sign up closes, how many people. If I already had rooms entered, I could have a capacity already set, so that's all that we wanted. We could have a wait list, and that would mean that if somebody canceled, the next person would be alerted through the system that they can sign up. If I need a certain number of people to hold the class, we could put that. We could tell people if that hasn't been met and the class is going to be canceled 10 hours before. If there's a cost involved, we can tell them that. Any details. You can also add any custom fields, and then again you can pull those out of the report builder as well if you want to. So then we can save our changes, and let's go back to the practice course and just kind of see how that looks. And it would look like this. Now notice it's grayed out. I did not finish the SCORM, and it knows that, so I can't really sign up. If I had, I'm also the site admin, so I can get into things. If I were a regular student enrolled in the course and I had finished this, I would click on this and there would be a sign up button and I could enroll, and then I would get notifications, and those notifications can be set up by the trainer as well as to how often, like one day before and so on. And then the instructor can go back in and can mark attendance of who fully attended. Okay, we had a request for the feedback and the quiz. So let's do the feedback first. Let's say we wanted to do a course evaluation, and we would do feedback and add, and we'll call this course evaluation. Please help improve by giving us feedback on this course. Okay. And again, I could restrict access, and maybe I'm going to say that they have to finish the seminar and they have to finish the SCORM so that they've actually done the course before I'm going to allow them to do that. And then let's say that I'll mark this complete after they view it and submit a completed course eval. And that can be nice too, because oftentimes it's hard once people are done with the course, they don't want to do that. Now we can make it conditional on getting completion for the course. All right, so now on the back end, we can edit questions. We don't have any right now, and you can select the type of question. And so let's do a multiple choice, and we'll make it required. And please rate how responsive the instructor was. And I could have it vertical, and I'm going to have a single answer. And then I can put the values. Not at all responsive, very responsive. Well, let's do somewhat responsive, very responsive. And then here, and we'll put that as the first question and save it. Okay, and there it is. So it's just a survey generator. You can have templates so that if you're going to use the same course evaluation in every course, it can be set up as a template, and then everybody can use it, and you don't have to recreate it every time. When you are the instructor or the site admin or the course manager, you'll see the data, and that can be exported to Excel. You can show any responses. We don't have any right now, but you could kind of see what different people are saying. So that would be the feedback. Let me know if you have any questions about that one. The quiz is different. That one, you know, with the course evaluation, it's people's opinions, right? And there isn't necessarily a right or a wrong. In a quiz, there definitely is graded, and there is a right or a wrong. So again, we go to add an activity or resource, and we go to quiz. Sometimes people get intimidated because there are so many options in the quiz. So remember, you don't have to do them all. You can have a very simple quiz where you just do the red asterisks. Or you can have a very complex quiz with complex rules. And it can be quite limitless with what you can do. So don't be intimidated by all the options. Okay, are the survey and evaluation the same? Yes, yes. So feedback is a survey generator, and you can create a course evaluation if you want with it. So a lot of our clients use the feedback tool to create course evaluations, but it could be any survey. Maybe you want to pre-survey the learners on what they already know, and you could do that. You know, it's just a survey generator is what feedback is. There is also one that is a poll, and that one sort of anonymously to the group shows like how many prefer something. But if you're doing like a course evaluation, I would use the feedback. Okay. And again, if people would like a free course, let me know, and I can let you play with all of these too. That's probably the best way to learn, is to just play and start picking radio buttons of what you want to try, going through the wizards and configuring things and see how they act. So we have all of these different things we can configure. You could say when it opens, when it closes, if there's going to be a timeline, if they get more than one attempt. If they do get more than one attempt, will you only record their highest grade, their average grade, their first attempt, their last attempt? Do you want a new page for every question or every so many questions? How do you want the questions to behave? Do you want the questions to be mixed up to deter cheating? So if it's in a lab setting, everybody sees different question, a different order, and they can't say number one is A. Then when do you want to give feedback? And you could have deferred feedback, or you could have immediate feedback. And then this we help clients a lot with, but this shows all the different times that they could get feedback and the type of feedback that they could get. So the courses, the quizzes can be quite dynamic. So do you want it during the attempts? So when they do a question that they would automatically get specific feedback right after they submit a question? Do you want it after the whole quiz is done? or while it's still open, or after the quiz is closed. And then what feedback type do you want them to get? So that's where it can get so dynamic. And then here, you could have a password if you wanted more security. You could have feedback, like if they got 90 to 100%, you could say something like, great job. You know, if they got 60, let's see, if we wanted it to be 60 to 90, we could add something like, okay. And if, you know, if we said 0 to 60, please come in for help, or please schedule a time to get one-on-one help, or something like that. So you can set these up like that. You could make a restriction, like they can only do the quiz after they've done something else. You could say that we're only going to have this completed when they get a passing grade. And we could go to save and return to the course. And is there anything that it didn't like? Oh, okay. Grade to pass. We really want that. It wants a number, not words. Makes sense. Save and return to course. Oh, it must not have liked something else that I did. What else? Okay. So let's do 2. I must have only had 10 as the total or something. Okay. Let's put this as 60%. Let's see if it likes that better. Okay, I took that. All right. All right, then we'll go back here, and we haven't added quizzes yet. Questions, I should say. You can have a question bank where it randomly picks them too, set up, and you can import those. We'll do a manual add of a question. So add a new question, and these are all the question types that we can do now. So you can have multiple choice, true or false, matching, short answer, numerical, essay, drag and drop markers, embedded. That means where you're going to accept certain words, random, short answer, matching, or a description that isn't graded. So I will go with a multiple choice. And then I can say, and the difference between this and the feedback is it's going to correct it. Yeah, so I can say, I'm from Wisconsin. Who will win the Super Bowl this year? Or this is just so I wouldn't have had to put all of that in there. I could have put question 1 up there. Whatever I want to name the question for. They only see the question. And then I could put general feedback in there if I wanted. And then down here, I'm saying 1 answer only. I'm going to shuffle the choices. And the first choice would be, I usually start with the right one because it's going to shuffle them anyway. And of course, this is a little opinionated, but we'll go with it. Steelers, and I'm not going to give any points for that, and Raiders. Okay, and I can have as many choices, and then I can have feedback, like I could say, you got it, if they got it right, or no way, you know, that kind of thing. And then we'll go in and we'll preview our question here so you can see how it all works. And There are so many configurations and so many ways that you can configure this. Save changes. Okay. Okay. So if we were to look at this one, oh, I see. Let's go back here to practice attempt quiz now. And then I can say, and I can check it. And then it gave me the feedback right away. So there are so many different ways that we can have things appear or configured. We could do a whole webinar on just the quiz. It's something that there's a lot of different ways that that can go. Any other questions or things that people would like to see of the different tools that we can add to the course? Okay. The other thing that you can have is you can have blocks along the side. So some of the default ones I have is I don't have any discussion forums. So if I don't want this, I can delete it. If, and it's just asking if I'm sure I want to do that. I could have the latest news or the latest announcements block. I'll keep that. I don't have anything on the calendar, but assignments and due dates would show up there. Great, I have a great question about the quiz. When shuffling questions, is it possible to have certain questions always appear? As in 20 questions, shuffle 10 per quiz, but always have 2 particular questions show up. Okay, so first of all, the shuffle means that if you were to manually enter questions like I did, and there were 10 questions, it would just change the order and it would always use those static 10. Now, if I were using a question bank, which I didn't demo, and that could be a whole nother webinar, where I have a bank of questions. And a lot of times in universities, especially, maybe their textbook comes with a CD where they can upload all the questions that go with the whole course, and they can go in the question bank and they can go by chapter. Okay, then I could set 2 that will show up that everybody has to do, and I could have them shuffled so they're not in the same order, but they are going to be mandatory. And then out of my bank of questions, and I can say maybe from chapter 3, I want you to randomly pick 10, and out of chapter 4, I want you to randomly pick 10. We can do that, and we would do that with the question bank and putting questions in a bank. And that's how that is done. Today I just sort of did a static quiz where I manually entered a static question. So it's not currently in a bank where it can randomly come. But to Dan's question, we can mix and match. We can have some that are mandatory and then some that are randomly generated from a bank of questions. And one nice thing is if you allow a certain number of attempts, maybe 4 or maybe unlimited, it keeps track of what questions the user has already had. And on my next attempt, let's say there are 10 questions on chapter 3 in the bank, and the teacher said randomly pick 3, and I want to try again, and it's more of a formative quiz where I'm studying, and a teachable quiz where I'm learning. Next time it'll pick 3 other questions I haven't had, and it tracks that. So that's kind of interesting too. So things can get very, very interesting. I've done one medical trial where it got very interesting. I had all these groups, and different groups were given different randomized questions from different sections of the bank, and they had so much time between each section before they could do another one. And there's so many settings in the quiz that I was able to set all of those parameters. like I said, sometimes people get overwhelmed in the beginning. So you could just have a very simple quiz and just shuffle the answers so that nobody could say number one is A, number two is B, because everybody would get the questions in a different order. Or you can have something very complex going on where it randomly takes from a bank of question based on rules that you set. So that was really, really great question. Yeah, really good. And I really do appreciate the questions. Those make better things. I don't really like the recent activity. It can get too long. So everything that I've recently done shows up. That can be great in a class where you don't add so much and it's up and running, so that if the teacher adds something new, everybody can see it in the block. So if I want to add blocks, I think of blocks as widgets. These are all the widgets that are available to me. You know, you could have one that lists activities or how I did on each activity. I could have my bookmarks. I could have alerts. I could have latest posts in a blog or blog tags or a calendar or comments. Where we can comment on something, all of the courses I'm enrolled with, my dashboards, my Google Apps, if I have that set up. Who else is online? I'm just kind of a random glossary entry, an RSS feed. So there's a lot the course designer can add here. And one that I use a lot is the HTML block, which sounds really geeky, but all it is a blank block where I can type things. And then to configure these, you just click the gear and then configure. And I could say instructor contact info, for instance. And I could add a picture. And I could, again, have, I'll go to my computer for that. And I'll go to desktop. And I should have one in here that I've used. We'll use that one. And that might be kind of big, so we might have to massage it a little bit or resize it. So you can add pictures, you can add media, you can add sound files, video, whatever you want. And then I could put my phone number, my contact info, and so on. I have a feeling that I didn't pick the right one. I have one that's a thumbnail and I have one that's absolutely huge. And I think because it's taking longer, it's a huge file. All right, we're only 25%. I think I did the wrong one. And I could say, you know, how I want that aligned and so on. So then with these blocks, you can drag them around where you want them to appear. And then, so that's another option that you have. One other thing that I'd like to show that I didn't do is maybe a certificate of completion, because that sort of makes sense for having all of these things marked up, or all the conditionals or the tracking that I set up. So one last one, unless somebody has one that they want to see, we'll go to add an activity or resource and go to certificate and add. And then I can put certificate of completion. And you can have these customized. We could have somebody notified. We could save this. I'm going to have them download it. And I'm going to have them print the date that I'm going to have the course completion date. I'm going to have a randomly generated code that will show up in a report so nobody can cheat and make one. I could have the number of credit hours on it, and I could say whatever I want on it. And then it has some default certificates, but you can have our staff upload and we can help you make one, and then your logos and things can show up in these pull down menus too. But for today, I'll just pick something random. I don't know, let's do a signature, then let's do a fancy seal, and then I'm not going to have them mark that, and save and return to course. So, oh, and I forgot the most important part is we want to restrict access to this, and that's why we set up activity completion before. So we could say that they have to complete all of these things in order to get the certificate of completion. And we set up before for each thing what we're considering complete. And let's do the quiz and the course evaluation. Yeah. So all those things have to be complete, and then once that's done, and the learner will see it's grayed out, and it'll say, these are the things you still need to do. Once you've completed that, you'll be able to have a live link here. Now, because I'm site admin, I can preview it because I have ultimate rights. And this is what a learner's certificate would look like. And it would put their name in there, the name of the course, and the things that I pulled down. And you can have your logo, your look in that pull down menu too. And so what's nice is then it can be generated when they complete it. Yeah, and then we can go back here. One other thing I wanted to show too, when you're designing these, you know, course evaluation might be close to the end. You can just drag these things around too. And now it's the second last thing. So you can move things up and down as well. Any other questions about setting up your first course in Totara, or something else that you'd like to see me demo? This plus and minus would add another topic, or if you have too many topics, you can decrease the number. So if I wanted a new topic, now I've got a new one. If I decide, no, I don't want that, I can just hit the minus. Again, I'd be happy to give you a free course to play with if you'd like to do that for demoing purposes. If you have specific questions that you think of later, feel free to email those to me, and I'd be happy to send you an answer. Also on our website, let's just go there. I'll tell you what other webinars we have coming up. And we do have another couple on Totara that might be interesting to you. So today we did Totara Basics. The next one that we have coming up is on August 31st, and it's Making Learning Social with Totara Social. So that's a complementary software that works with Totara, but it's different than a learning management system. It's much more organic, and it's for collaboration and for idea generation and for documenting processes in a company. And so if you'd like to see that and how that can work, we'd be happy to do that too. Also, if you have any specific things about Totara that you'd like us to address in future webinars, please let me know. This one was actually suggested by another person that attended a webinar, like, could you go over just the basics on how you would create your first course? So that's why we added this one. So we're very receptive to ideas. Also, if you want a custom demo just for your organization on other aspects of Totara, it does so much, maybe the HR functionalities, how to automate it with other systems so information talks back and forth, how you can assign learning to different groups automatically, maybe the report builder. I'd be happy to do those as well, or just maybe a whole overview of what the software does. With that, thank you so much for attending today, and I hope that you will join us on a future webinar. And if you think of other questions or you couldn't come live today, please feel free to send those my way. So thanks.